So this is sort of a weird thing. It's sort of a weird combination of a false deal, of a double deal with a double laydown. So it's honestly very, very bizarre. Now, before I go into the move, I do want to say that this move might not appeal to everyone because I just think that there's way better moves out there. But for what it's worth, I think that, it's quite the novel move. So yeah, and you never know when you're going to get inspired by a particular move or when you want to use a move. So it's an interesting move, but yeah, I think that you'll enjoy it. So the first thing that you'll notice is that this move doesn't even have like a proper name. If you look at the name, the Conus method, it doesn't say anything. It just tells you that this is a method for a certain sleight used by a magician named Conus. It's a weird move, again, like I said. But anyways, this move, to my knowledge, actually first appeared in Nouvelle Magie Blanche Dévoilée, which is just French for New White Magic Unveiled, or something along those lines, right? Which was published back in 1853 by Jean-Nicolas Poncin, and it was largely unnamed. This move was then published in Lend Me Your Pack back in 1936 by Victor Ferrelli. The story of this, how this move actually came into play in the manuscript by Victor Ferrelli, was that just before Victor Ferrelli wanted to just deliver the manuscript to his publisher, a certain person by the name of Dr. Camille Gauthier, author of La Prestidigitation sans appareil, which is sleight of hand without apparatus, sent him a letter. And this letter actually contained an extract of Nouvelle Magie Blanche Dévoilée by Jean-Nicolas Poncin, and that extract actually contained the Conus method. So that's actually how the Conus method actually got its name, and it was how it was published in Lend Me Your Pack by Victor Ferrelli. So because this move was unnamed and it was associated with a magician named Conus, Victor Ferrelli was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna call it the Conus method. Yeah. It's actually kind of interesting because Victor Ferrelli calls this move sort of Conus's method for doing a double card turnover when it should actually be a double laydown, right? He also calls this a second deal, which is wrong as well because this should be a double deal. Now that's probably not even Victor Ferrelli's fault. It's honestly just a matter of probably just history, because I feel like most of these terms actually didn't exist back then. Remember, it's 1936, right? So I think it just proves to you how many magic terms actually just came to existence very, very recently. In which case, this is the double laydown and the double deal, so I feel like those are recent terms as well. Regardless, this is the Conus method and how it found its way into Victor Ferrelli's book. Now, before we get started, Victor Ferrelli, and Conus by extension, actually recommends that you use a borderless deck for this move. Not just for practice or anything, but for actual use of this move. This is because no one expects a perfect alignment for this move, and you can probably see that in the performance, and you can probably see that in the explanation as well, but a perfect alignment of this move, especially in performance, is going to be relatively difficult. Now, as I explain this move, I'll give a slight touch that allows you to get a good alignment, but it does somewhat ruin the flow of the move, but generally a borderless deck is recommended for this move. So, and obviously I'll explain the move with a border deck for explanation purposes, obviously. So so yeah, a borderless deck is recommended if you ever do use this move. I'd also recommend that you use a broken-in deck, because if you use a new deck, chances are, no matter how squared the cards are in your hands, they'll split once you table the cards, right? So use a broken-in deck as well as a borderless deck. That should be the best combination of both worlds. So if you learned the top change, this move is going to seem very, very familiar, especially to John Lovick's two-step top change, right? So you're going to have a card in your right hand. That's going to be the card that goes on top of the double. This card is going to be gripped by the bottom right corner. It's going to be pinched by the index finger and the thumb, and your middle finger is going to be on the bottom short edge of the card, supporting it, okay? Just like so. So what this does is actually creates a cage for the card, right? Because now the card is pressed up against the second phalange of the index finger, like so. The middle finger is on the bottom. So now you have a cage for this specific corner. Okay, so this will help with the alignment of the card, which is why I prefer using this grip. Okay, your left thumb then is going to push over the top card, just like with a top change. All right, so that's the card that's going to go on the bottom of the double. Okay, so this card is going to be pushed over, and your two hands are going to converge together, and this top card is going to slide above of this card over here. And it's going to continue sliding until it slides beneath of the thumb. Meanwhile, the bottom card over here, actually I'll turn it face up. Meanwhile, the bottom card over here is going to slide underneath of the right index finger. And it's going to slide there until it hits the cage. So what happens is that this long edge should hit the second phalange of the index finger, and the bottom short edge should be contacting the middle finger over here. So it should go like this, okay? And at some point it should just stop, okay? So this all happens underneath the cover of this top card. So it just continues, and then at some point you'll feel it stop. And like I said in the prerequisite section, it doesn't matter if they're not perfectly aligned, as long as you're using borderless cards, because that won't appear, all right? And also I'll give you a tip on aligning these two cards in the tip section, all right? But for now, you should just move these two cards, slide them against each other until they converge, and until this bottom card hits the cage, okay? So now that both cards are converged with one another, you're going to separate both hands. Your left hand is going to go away, and your right hand is actually going to move away and go downwards onto the table. And it's just going to table these two cards, all right? So to table this double, it's going to be relatively simple. You're going to press down the top left corner of the double onto the table first, and then you're going to lay down the rest of the card. You're just going to continue pressing down the rest of the card until only the bottom right corner of the card is sticking upwards, okay? Next, as it reaches the index finger, you're just going to move the index finger out of the way, leaving only the middle finger, right? So the bottom right corner is going to be supported by the second phalange of the middle finger, and it's going to be clipped in between of your thumb as well. So this should be what happens after you move the index finger out of the way, all right? And you're going to continue pushing downwards with your thumb until you can't anymore. Next, you're just going to move your middle finger out of the way. You're going to move your middle finger out of the way, which causes this double to actually just snap. And because your thumb is pressing down on the double, everything should be anchored in place, okay? So press down on the upper left corner, continue until you can move your index finger out of the way. Next, press down on your thumb, anchoring everything in place, flick your middle finger, and then just move your thumb out of the way. So I am using a new deck, which is why this double is moving around, but generally, if using a broken in deck, that shouldn't be a problem, okay? Everything should stay in place, okay? So that's how you lay this double down onto the table, okay? You just press down bottom left corner, continue pressing down until you can move your index finger out of the way, move your middle finger out of the way as you anchor everything down with your thumb. And that's how you table this double over here, all right? And then from then on, you can just do whatever that you want with this move, all right? You can just leave it there, right? Or you can just like place a box on top of it, or just leave it there for whatever future use, all right? And that is the Conus method in general, right? And it's 2 cards. So here's just a slight tip regarding this move. So you want to align both cards in your hand as you prepare to like separate both hands. So what's going to happen is that you're going to converge both cards, right? It's not perfect alignment right now, which is fine, right? What's going to happen is that your left index finger is going to be contacting the top short edge of the cards, right? And your left thumb is going to be just stroking the left long edge of this double. So what happens is that this actually forms a second cage. So you have one cage at the bottom right corner. This forms another cage at the top left corner, right? So you have your index finger forming the cage on the short edge, like so, and your thumb is just going to brush against the left long edge until it hits the index finger, right? So now you have two cages. And the fact that you have two cages means that the card is now perfectly aligned, all right? So it's just going to be a stroke upwards until it hits the index finger, like so, okay? So now you've squared both the two cards up, like so, okay? So now you have a perfect alignment. And then you could just do your lay down as per usual, assuming that you have a broken index, they shouldn't separate, right? But yes, so that is just how you quickly align both cards. So in motion, it should be just this. Okay, without the separation. So it should just be a quick stroke, right? It shouldn't be like a lingering thing, right? It should just be here, stroke, lay down, like so, okay? So that is just a quick tip on how to align the cards. Now, context-wise, it's gonna be kind of hard. So generally how I would treat this move is exactly how I would treat a two-step top change. I would have the card in my right hand, and would have to find a justification to place this card in my right hand to the top of the deck, which is when I do the move, right? So I would have to find a justification as to why I'm placing this card over here, right? This can be like I'm like maybe like moving an object out of the way, maybe I'm grabbing something, right? It doesn't matter as long as I have to find a reason for my right hand to be empty, right? It can be like, oh yeah, let me move this closer, let me move this further, can I like have your hand or whatever, right? So it's just gesturing, right? So whatever justification that you find to have your right hand empty, that's what you have to use, all right? Then my right hand comes back, I align everything in the cage once more, right? And then I grab the double, like so, okay? And then, yeah, I just place it down to the table and I place the box on top, right? So generally this entire sequence should be nonchalant, right? It should be just a very, very casual thing. You shouldn't draw attention to the right card being on top of the deck, and you shouldn't draw attention to anything that you're doing in particular, right? There should just be a very casual action of, oh yeah, I need to move this box because it should be moved, or I'm moving, or I should be gesturing because I need this person to do a particular thing, all right? So this move really is a natural thing, right? It shouldn't be like let me place this card on top of the deck and can I have your hand, and then right? That's way too much stuff, right? It should just be like a very casual thing that you don't even mention, right? There we go. And that's that, right? Like it should, like you shouldn't even look down at your hands when you're doing it, okay? So that is just the general context and how I would use this move. So if you're interested in the Conus method, it's sort of a weird move. There are a couple of resources, especially for double deals and other double laydowns. The Conus method in particular is in the last page of Lend Me Your Pack by Victor Farelli, which is sold as an ebook on library. There's also Expert Card Conjuring by Alton Sharp. There's a whole bunch of other double laydowns over there. There's The Magic of Ascanio, Studies of Card Magic by Arturo de Ascanio. My Spanish sucks, I'm really sorry. Which, again, more double laydowns. Expert Card Technique by Gene Newgard and Frederick Browie. There's a double deal. And then there's Gambling Sleight of Hand by Steve Forty. More double deals. And then The Boy Who Cried Magic by Andy Gladwin, which is also another double deal. So those are all the resources that you can look at if you want to learn more about double laydowns or double deals. Honestly, what a weird move. What a weird move, because it's sort of a weird combination between, like, again, it's like a top change, but not like it's a double laydown with the same context as a top change, and it's a double deal with the same context as a top change. It's honestly, like, I can't even tell you, like, what, like, this is just a bizarre move, right? I'd honestly just prefer doing a double, right? I honestly just prefer doing a double and then just tabling it, because I think that's less of a hassle, right? And there's also less of a risk of flashing, right? Because I usually don't use borderless decks, so it's really like a very, very bizarre move for me. But that doesn't mean it's not without merit, because it's genuinely a very interesting move, right? Because it has all the benefits of sort of like a double laydown. You also have that weird, like, relaxation moment and isolation of, like, a top change, right? So it's not a bad move in particular too. And like Jean-Nicolas Poussin mentioned, Conus was apparently very, very fond of this method. So clearly, he had something going on with this move. I just don't know if it's a move meant for me, right? Meant for me in particular, because I don't use borderless decks, and it doesn't really suit my style as well. But with that said, if it worked for Conus, who said it doesn't work for you, right? So if you're interested in this move, why not try it? Why not try and play around with this move? Because I'm sure that maybe, just maybe, you might actually get more than you think out of this move. Maybe that can be, like, theory-wise. Maybe that can be, like, I don't know, inspiration-wise. Or maybe you'll actually find a way to integrate into your performances. I don't know. But generally, for me, this is a weird move. But that doesn't mean that's not without merit. Okay? So yeah, this is well, for me, it's an archaic move, and it could still be useful. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up for the Conus method. Yeah, stay safe, stay healthy, and yeah, see you guys next time. And yeah.